Today in the morning, like 7 workers, they got detained by ICE in Hamden in a car wash. So one of the workers, was detained. His sister called ULA, and we went there to assist, but there was nothing we can do. So basically, like, this is a wake-up call for our community to be prepared, because I think something bad is going to happen, and we need to be more united and basically be ready for these attacks, and be ready to respond when these situations happen.
The community is responding to a ICE raid here in Hamden, where they disappeared as I understand, 7 to 8 folks, and we are trying to make sure the community is aware of this tragedy and try to figure out how we can take action to make sure it does not continue.
I know that there's children who go home and don't have parents when they get home. I know that there are people who have friends who've just disappeared in America. I don't know what you do with that. I know you keep fighting, but I don't know what you do with that on a human level.
It just keeps happening, doesn't it? Like a gut punch.
It is a gut punch. It is. And if it's not a gut punch, you should check your gut.
We're not going to be able to use the state apparatus and change around some laws. We're going to protect ourselves. We need mass mobilization. We need neighborhood vigilance committees. We need rapid response forces, and I think we need the political leadership to bring those into existence. It's not going to be enough just for us to continue business as usual.
This morning at 10:20, about 10:20 a.m., there was a raid from Immigration and Customs Enforcement at a car wash in Hamden on Dixwell Avenue. They detained 8 people who were working at the car wash. There was a group of people who immediately assembled trying to get names of people. Right now, we are still trying to contact families and notify these families. One of my biggest concerns is that there was a mother and father who were taken. Their children are in school. We don't know which community. We don't know how to contact that school. We're still trying to find out how to get in touch with this family so that their kids don't go to an empty house when they get off of school. The actions from the administration and ICE are deplorable. They are disgusting. They are not what we represent in Hamden. We are here today to stand up for the people of Hamden, for the families that are living in fear because of an inhumane presidency.
Let's hear it for New Haven Immigrants Coalition. One of the things they are asking for today is that if anybody has any details or information or connection to folks impacted by the raid this morning, or who have information about the raid this morning, observed anything, witnessed anything, or if you observe any ICE activity at any point, to call their rapid response line at 854-666-4472. Again, that's the New Haven Immigrants Coalition Rapid Response Line at 854-666-4472.
And what I have to say is that this is not normal, you guys. I do not know why our tax dollars are being used for this type of behavior when so many people are about to lose SNAP and WIC during this government shutdown. Yes. Why is there $170 billion that's being allocated for federal immigration enforcement? That's not something that we are asking for.
I, for one, as a pastor of a Latino Christian community here in Hamden, am more than upset. And for those who call themselves Christians who stand with this abuse, shame on you. All right. Shame on you for trying to theologize and normalize things that aren't normal, as we just heard. Shame on you for trying to make this seem okay when it is most certainly not okay. To the families who are suffering, a las familias que están sufriendo, nosotros estamos contigo. Estamos dispuestos para caminar contigo en solidaridad y para asegurar que hay recursos para ti, para que no te sientas solo en este proceso. El número aquí es 854-666-4472 si usted conoce alguna información sobre lo sucedido esta mañana, aproximadamente a las 10:20 de la mañana. Yo les exhorto a que llame ese número si tiene alguna información o si necesita algo. Usted se mantendrá completamente anónima al llamar ese número. For those who are working with ICE and for those who call themselves ICE, I also have a message for you on behalf of my faith, my God, my community. Look within yourselves. Look within yourselves and to peer into the last shred of humanity that you have left. And think about what you're doing. Because what you're doing it to the very same God you profess you believe in.
Amen. You come for one of us.
Yeah.
You come for all of us.
All right.
Mayor had it right. This morning, when I got the phone call, like many here today, it began to hit home. This is not something that's just happening on television screens or on phones. It's happening here in Hamden. And it's very important for all of us to remember what these folks were doing. They were working.
Yeah.
They were doing the responsible thing to support themselves and their loved ones. They were working. They weren't committing crimes. They weren't part of a cartel. They weren't pedophiles. All the lies that we've been fed from this administration about what they're doing and why they're doing it. They were working. That's a really important thing to know, a really important thing to speak loudly. The fear and the trauma that this action this morning has caused in Hamden and in the region and throughout this country is palpable and it's real. And I'm so happy to stand here with the mayor and the mayor of New Haven, Justin Ottercrow's here, our chief of police, our chief of fire, these activists, these pastors, because we're saying with one voice and one community, no. No. If you come for one of us, you come for all of us. We have to decide what kind of community we're going to be. We have to decide what kind of state we're going to be. Are we going to hide and be silent? Or are we going to stand up and speak loudly with one voice and take action? Yes. We have an opportunity to do that in the state of Connecticut. We're going to be going into special session very shortly. We have an opportunity to take action, to send a message loud and clear in this state and in this country that in Connecticut, when you come for one of us, you come for all of us. Let's fight together.
You come for one of us?
You come for all of us.
We've heard it, but we should hear it again. It bears repeating. And it bears repeating because the community is here in force. The solidarity in here is real, but so is the emotion. So is the emotion all of us are feeling in our hearts, in our stomach, in our belly. You know, there's a lot of things that are being done in the United States of America under this administration in the name of keeping us safe, in the name of keeping our community safe. I cannot imagine being one of those two little children waiting for someone to pick me up at school this afternoon, and I cannot fathom how that is keeping any of us safe.
Yeah.
We have a frozen, dysfunctional, gridlocked federal government. The cold weather is coming in. What would keep us safe? How about LIHEAP? How about low-income heating assistance? What would keep us safe? How about SNAP benefits for families that are going hungry in southern Hamden, families that are going hungry in Newhall and Newhallville and New Haven? How about increasing funding for our public schools? That would keep us safe. That's community safety. That's what this administration doesn't get. But in the name of safety, they will send masked agents into our community to rip people away from trying to put food on the family, to rip people away from working a simple job at a car wash. How is that keeping us safe? So I want to stand with everyone here in the name of pushing for real community safety. And I want to echo Senator Cabrera that we have an opportunity coming up in the legislative session. And I would add to that, we have an obligation coming up in the next legislative session to take action, to protect privacy, the data that's stored on our state servers, to make sure that ICE isn't culling that data to take hardworking families away from their children. We have that obligation. We have an obligation to push, as California has, to make sure that all law enforcement agents, local, state, and federal, take off their face coverings. Take off their masks. This is America. Show me your badge. Tell me your name, officer. I want to know why I'm being pulled off the street. So this creeping authoritarianism, it stops here today. It stops here now. It stops here on Dixwell Avenue. It stops here in Hamden. Not in my name. Not in our name. You come for one of us? You come for all of us!
As I think about another force in history wearing masks in order to disappear people of color, I can't help but think of the KKK and how it functioned in our society. If we are going to hold each other accountable, it cannot be through masked men disappearing our neighbors. Amen? Amen. I'd like to invite Lou Mangini up to offer a statement from Representative DeLauro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lou Mangini, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro's office. First off, I'd like to give a huge thanks to the New Haven Immigrants Coalition and to Connecticut Students for a Dream. This happened 4 hours ago. And look at everyone who's in this room right now. That is an incredible response, and it shows how much the community cares. And now a statement from the Congresswoman, who is in D.C. trying to fight for some of the benefits that we've heard repeated up here earlier. Right now, I'm focused on confirming the safety and status of those who were detained during the raid on a Hamden car wash today, as well as their family members, some of whom are school-age children. The aggressive tactics used by ICE and endorsed by President Trump have escalated tensions with communities here and across the country, causing fear. They are not making Americans any safer. I will continue to engage with local leaders and law enforcement to understand the basis for this raid and to ensure that the rights of these individuals and all Connecticut residents are respected.
There was a constituent that actually passed by as we were responding to the scene, who was asking, what exactly was going on. We were letting her know what was going on. And I think her words kind of reflect the spirit that I think many of us, here in this room share, as well as all 60,000 people in Hamden share, is that, it is our part to make sure that these folks are given their due process, are able to actually return safely home, as they were doing what most of us oftentimes do, go to work. And it is our job to make sure that, our state delegation, our state is actually putting the federal government on notice and letting them know that, this is something that the town of Hamden does not tolerate. This is something that, the New Haven County does not tolerate. This is something that the state of Connecticut does not tolerate. We do not tolerate you guys taking, we don't tolerate our neighborhoods being terrorized and our neighbors getting kidnapped. I'm a proud son of immigrants, but even more back to that, I've got to use the word kidnap, because that is what happened. go and take our community members, my community members, my neighbors, and that is kidnapping. If it were to be anybody where, these people were masked, they were unidentified, how do we, hypothetically, let's think about it, how do we actually even know, worst case scenario, that they were actual ICE agents? Now, we of course do know that they're under, the detention of ICE, but think about that. We have led ourselves into a society where we have accepted masked, unidentified people kidnapping folks. The beloved community members that, we're standing here in solidarity with and asking for the return of are folks that, work day in and day out. There are folks that, I've heard from constituents about how hard they work in the past couple of hours in the wake of this. There are folks that have contributed so much and are a part of what makes our town the lovely, diverse town it is. These folks have contributed more than any of these faceless, masked cowards that took them could ever do. And they sure as hell have contributed more than our cowardly federal government that decides to hide behind platitudes and certain talking points that are incorrect and we know do not speak to the character of our community and our immigrants that make this community so beautiful. So I'd like to, thank everyone for coming out here. I wish we all could have been here in better circumstances, but I think the better hope here is that we're back again celebrating the return of our neighbors and our neighbors.
I would like to paint a picture today of what the scene looked like at the car wash on Dixwell when volunteers from New Haven Immigrants Coalition showed up this morning. We received word that something had taken place at this car wash, and by the time we got there, the doors on that car wash were locked. Everyone was gone. Every member of staff at that car wash had been disappeared. No one was there to talk to us, to tell us who had been taken or what had happened. That level of, I don't have words for an entire staff of an organization to just be gone with no trace. The doors were shut, and people were coming by to get their car washed. They wondered why everything was shut. Because every single worker was taken by ICE. Every single worker, and one thing that has not yet been shared this afternoon, one customer was taken by ICE. Someone who was there just having their car washed, that has been reported to us, that a customer was taken. Disappeared from our community. So imagine what it would be like to see your husband or your wife off to work in the morning and then for them to literally never return home without a trace. Or as many have shared, what it would be like to be a child who goes to school in the morning and then returns home for the house to be locked up tight or to wait outside school and no one comes to pick you up. And you have no idea what happened. Here in our community of Hamden and New Haven, my neighbors are being swept away without a trace by masked bullies who are dressed like they are fighting a war. But this is not a war zone. This is our community, and these are our friends and our neighbors. They are parents and siblings and children. When I watched the video of the car wash in our community being raided this morning, I saw two things. I saw hardworking people doing their jobs, and I saw criminals who were terrorizing ordinary folks. And the criminals are the ones who won't show their faces. The criminals are the ones who are wearing masks and tactical gear. They are the ones who call themselves ICE. They are not defending our communities. They are tearing it to pieces. In my work as a pastor, I have sat with people who have been detained and come home, and even so, they feel like there is always someone behind their shoulder, always someone getting ready to take them again. I work with people who wake up every night with nightmares, even though they are back safe at home. The impact is lasting, and it is traumatic to people in our communities. As a pastor, being a Christian is not that complicated. Jesus said that there are two commandments that are the most important commandments, and one of them is that you love God, and the other one is that you love your neighbor.
Well.
Yep. So today I ask you, does this look like loving our neighbor to you?
Nope.
Do masks and raids and violence and zip ties and broken car windows and terrorized communities look like loving our neighbor to you? Our God is loving and merciful and generous. Our God hates injustice and cares first for the lowly. Our God envisions a world where every human soul can thrive, and our God weeps to see families torn apart and to see neighbors torn away. So as a person of faith, I am outraged that these immoral acts are taking place here in our own community and across the nation. It is a moral crisis taking place under the banner of the law. And I, as a faith leader, have a message for ICE. Leave our neighbors alone.
All right.
Go home. We do not want your violence and your terror in this place that we call home.
All right.
Thank you for being here. I am furious that ICE has come to our city.
Speak on it.
To my neighborhood! Stealing people who live here and work here. Estoy furiosa que ICE vino a nuestra ciudad, a mi vecina, llevando gente que vive y trabaja aquí.
Eso es.
In April, we made the Welcoming City Ordinance in support of Connecticut's Trust Act because fear does not belong in our community. En abril, hicimos the Welcoming City Ordinance, apoyando la Connecticut Trust Act, porque el miedo no tiene lugar en nuestra comunidad.
Eso es.
Today was federal intimidation, not justice.
Yes.
Lo de hoy fue intimidación federal, no justicia. We condemn it. Hamden stands by its people, all of them. And we will not allow strangers to create chaos in our town. Lo condenamos. Hamden está con su gente, con toda su gente. Y no vamos a dejar que extraños hagan chaos en nuestra ciudad. Fuck ICE.
Couldn't have said it better myself. State Representative Josh Elliott is next.
It always starts with immigrants. The othering starts with immigrants. What happened today is part of a broader conversation, symptomatic of things that are happening nationally, and now we're seeing it in our backyard. Governor Pritzker in Illinois has been begging Democratic leaders across the U.S. to be significantly more vocal. We have occupation of Texas National Guards in the streets, neighborhoods of Chicago, against the will of the sitting governor, creating this manufactured crisis that does not exist. Nobody in Hamden had an issue with the 7 people that were kidnapped today. No one in Connecticut had a problem with the 7 people that were kidnapped today. 4.5 years ago, on January 6th, insurrectionists went to our capital to try to overturn an election. And now those same people, wearing masks, in unmarked vans, are coming to our communities to instill fear in us, because this is part of a broader and bigger plan. And when we have press conferences like this, it's to mourn what's happening, but it's also to wake people up to what is going on in our country, because it's bigger than what happened today. Because next week or next month, it could be peaceful protests of the person who has no issue with documentation status, who isn't black or brown, who isn't Muslim, who isn't Jewish, who isn't a woman. It could just be anyone. It could be anyone. And that's why we have to be protecting everybody. We have to be protecting everybody. And for anybody who's elected right now, who believes that it's okay to keep our head down and hope that this will pass, you're part of the problem. And you're not doing the work that this moment calls for. It's the people that are in this room right now who are speaking up against what we're seeing as an incursion from the federal government, unwanted action from our federal government that we need right now in this moment. These are the people that we need. ICE is not welcome in this town. ICE is not welcome in this state. We openly defy this president for what he's doing to our country, pitting us against each other when we are not enemies. Do not fall for the fiction. Be open and be loud and make sure that anybody who's not paying attention is paying attention. Because this is not the last we're going to see. It's going to continue. And their hope is that people don't speak up and that people allow the takeover of the judiciary. Allow billions of dollars of free legal services while our partners in law are bending at the knee to this administration. While our universities quake because of the fear of losing the dollar and allowing the culture of education to be shifted overnight. That's why we're here. And the 7 people that were kidnapped today, that are our friends, and they are our neighbors, they're a canary in the coal mine for what's to come. I want to be clear. What the federal government wants to do is open in the public. And they are blaming us, the community, for being the problem. So remember this energy and keep it moving forward, because these groups need to get bigger, they need to get louder, and we need to be thinking very, very systematically about how we're going to be fighting against anything like this happening again in the future.
No one should be sent to concentration camps, especially without due process. And because Avelo has been trafficking people to these concentration camps in other countries, we need to make sure that the economic health of New Haven is not built upon Avelo's business. Yes. Can I get an amen? I'm going to turn it now over to community organizer Carrie Ellington.
This message is to the residents of this area of Hamden, of New Haven. This message is to Black and brown documented communities. We cannot stand idly by as we watch our undocumented neighbors get disappeared by ICE and the federal government. This is not an us versus them issue. This is an all of us issue. A few weeks ago, we witnessed Black children in Chicago being zip-tied by ICE and detained for hours. We witnessed Black American citizens, elderly, being detained for hours from a raid, a raid that took place at night in a building. And we witnessed atrocities happen. We witnessed folks have guns pointed in their faces, no answers given, and all their rights snatched. This is a time, I implore you, if you are Black, if you are brown, and you are documented, to get involved. If you live in the Dixwell area neighborhood, if you live in New Hallville, if you live in Fairhaven, if you live in West Haven, if you live in Hamden, New Haven, we need you to get involved right now. We are all under attack. And I have a message specifically for our white neighbors and community members. It is not okay to stand idly by. You must get up and put your body on the line. repeat, if you have any level of privilege or entitlement, that is imperative that you put your body on the line, that you disrupt ICE from disappearing people, that you get out of your cars, that you pull your camera phone out. Yes, it is important to make systemic change at the legislative level, but we have to get on our 10 toes and stand on the ground and fight back. No longer is it okay to watch the news and act like it is not happening here. It's been happening here and it's going to continue to happen here unless we stand up and do something about it.
All right.
So if you are not already involved with the New Haven Immigrant Coalition, please get involved. If you are not involved with C4D, please get involved. Please find where folks are taking action, where they're meeting. If it's virtual, if it's in person, get access to it and get involved. Folks, say it with me. Get up, stand up.
Get up, stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Friends, we have with us a brave young woman who witnessed what happened this morning. Her name is Rachel, and she would like to come share what she saw with all of us. Come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Very disheartened to say that I witnessed what went down this morning at the car wash. From the start, I heard the tires screeching to a halt, and I ran to the window, and that's when I saw the masked men. And then I heard a scream, and I knew that it was the girl who checks in the cars every morning, every day. And I just ran outside. I didn't think, I just reacted. I ran out, and what I saw was a man that had just been slammed on the ground. There were at least 10 agents all around. One of them went on the side of the building to try to catch anybody who was trying to flee. It was very heartbreaking. Once it took a minute to process and I realized, what was unfolding in front of me, I immediately started trying to help these people. I asked the man that was on the ground if he was okay, and an ICE agent got in my face and told me that I was going to end up just like them if I interfered or obstructed what they were doing. I told him that he did not have the right to speak to me that way and that I was an American citizen. Bastard, excuse my language. I told him that everybody that was doing what he was doing had no right to treat humans that way. And then I moved on to look across the street and saw that they were hauling that girl into an unmarked van. I then interfered again and asked her if she could give me a number so I could call her family. Once she started trying to give me that number, the ICE agent that was hauling her off jerked her away from me. And another one stepped in and got in my face a second time, and we had a stare down. He told me that I needed to back up, and I refused to move. I told him that I had every right to be there, that it was a public space. That this is a free state. He tried to get smart with me and said that this is a country, and I told him that we were standing in the state of Connecticut. And I guess his embarrassment and lack of comeback caused him to start walking away, where he started to smack his hindsight like a monkey to taunt me.
Wow.
And all of this was just very horrible. I ran to the corner store after this unfolded, and I alerted people that were there, and I ran across the street to Save-A-Lot, and I told them what had just happened. I told them that if anyone, needed to call their family and, become safe, that they needed to do that because the time was now, because they're out. I in front of the car wash. They left the entire establishment open. Everybody's belongings were left. It looked brutal. It looked like they were just disappeared. And so I helped along with the people from New England Motors to, you know, get their stuff together, round up all the hoses and, you know, close up the shop, and just went about my day. And I made a post on Facebook explaining what had happened. And I just want to tell everybody, if you're not safe, if you need somebody to call, there's plenty of people that are willing to help. You just have to know where to go, do social networking. There's a lot of people on Facebook, there's a lot of people on TikTok who are more than willing to lend a hand. I don't think that this is right, this feels wrong. I've been sick to my stomach ever since this happened. And I just urge everybody to call your families, tell them you love them, because you really don't know what tomorrow holds. Thank you so much.
So New Haven Legal Assistance represents immigrants across Connecticut, both immigrants who are in detention, immigrants who are in our communities trying to bring them home, and we focus on folks that are in the New Haven area, including here in Hamden. And I was on site alongside these amazing community members and advocates who work every day to protect immigrant communities, trying to track down folks who are detained by ICE, assess their cases, figure out how we can support them as they're sent to detention centers that are far away from their families and communities. So just to paint a picture, thankfully there is no ICE detention center here in Connecticut, but what that means is that when somebody is detained by ICE in Connecticut, they are sent to detention centers in other states. So right now, at New Haven Legal Assistance, we have clients who are detained at Moshannon Detention Center in Pennsylvania, where a person who is detained by ICE was actually found hanging in their cell just this summer. We have clients at Plymouth Detention Center in Massachusetts, where we can't talk to our clients unless we pay $50 for a half hour on their video platform. We have clients at the Wyatt Detention Center in Rhode Island who are sequestered there as they're seeking asylum and protection from torture in their home countries. These are all Connecticut residents who should be here with their families, but they're in states all around the country. And sometimes Connecticut residents are being taken out of this region, as we've seen, and sent all the way to places like Texas and Louisiana, where it's even harder for them to access attorneys in their cases. And I want to highlight that what happened today is another example of what has been happening across our state, what has been happening even in this area. ICE has been here terrorizing communities, tearing families apart, and using extreme tactics of violence and intimidation. They have been detaining immigrants outside of our courthouses. When people are going to court to show up for a hearing for all manner of types of cases, preliminary hearings in criminal cases, family court, housing court, people are being picked up by ICE on the courthouse steps, okay? People are also being detained, like we saw today, at car washes in Connecticut, because ICE is using racial profiling tactics to target places where they think there are going to be higher concentrations of immigrant workers. And in the meantime, we have over 40,000 deportation cases currently pending in Hartford Immigration Court, and less than half of those people are represented, because we have a crisis of representation here in Connecticut, particularly for people who are detained by ICE. Unlike the criminal legal system, immigration court does not have public defenders. There's no appointed counsel. If people cannot find an attorney, they don't have an attorney. And that's why we're seeing things like we've seen in the news where children, ages 4, 5, 6, are being forced to represent themselves in immigration court. So it's more critical than ever, with all of the folks here in this room, to highlight the importance of expanding access to free, affordable, accessible legal services for immigrants in Connecticut, so that everybody has a chance, at a fighting chance, at coming back home to their families and accessing the protection and dignity that they deserve. It's also more critical than ever, and I want to highlight this, that we expand access to remote hearings in our state courts, okay? We already have mechanisms for remote hearings. The judicial branch did an amazing job of making those hearings accessible during the height, the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we need to make sure that those hearings are actually accessible so that people do not need to go to court and risk arrest and being torn away from their families by violent and intimidating ICE agents when they could do the same exact hearing from the comfort of their home or from their attorney's office if they have an attorney. We also, and I know some other folks have mentioned, we also need to make sure that ICE officers are required, and all law enforcement officers, to identify themselves clearly so that they can be subject to the most basic form of accountability, which is knowing the identity of a government agent or official that is violating your rights so that you can go and you can sue them. And so I just want to highlight that the situation is dire, but we are not powerless. I think the crowd of people here shows that we have people power, which is incredible. There are also local policies that we can put into place here in our communities, in the city level and in the state level, to expand the protections. I know we've already passed a lot of protective policies for immigrants in Connecticut. We need to expand those protections now because it's not enough, and there is an increasingly expansive mass deportation and detention crackdown on immigrant communities, and there is more that we can be doing to make sure that every member of our community can live lives of safety and dignity. Thank you.
Again, to the question